You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
My name's Raul. What's yours?
Oh, my name is Darren.
Darren. Okay. Here, let me write that down just so I don't forget it. Okay. So, Darren, I'm walking around campus and I'm interviewing people concerning some belief they hold to, and I want to ask you questions, asking you to explain how you arrived at that belief.
Okay.
So it'd be kind of like an interview.
Mm.
Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll let you identify the belief. It could be anything. Some examples would be, I believe ghosts exist, or I believe God exists, or I believe I can read other people's minds, or it could be any belief that you hold to, just something that you're fairly convinced of, and that is kind of near and dear to you, that serves as somewhat of a foundation for your thinking about the world.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just say I believe that God is real.
Okay. So you believe God is real. Okay. So let's start with why do you believe that?
Well, I guess I mainly have to believe that because like my parents, they believe in God, and just like following down the line, and I guess I kind of see the way, like see it in a way that I guess the same way that they do. I have to say, it's like believing like creation and everything. Like it has to be like like a person above us or a higher being to create the world, like the whole everything.
Okay. So creation, that's a big part for you. Okay. And you said you just feel like somebody had to have created the world.
Yeah,
right?
It's kind of like, like it's almost like crazy to believe like all this just like it had happened out of nowhere. Like someone had to start it.
Okay. So if we have the two options about how the world was created, let's say God did it, and over here some natural explanation. How do you distinguish between the two? What is it about the world that you observe that makes you prefer this option over here rather than this option?
I guess it'll mainly have to be just because like there's like it's just like a lot of people that like believe in the same thing I have to say. It's like I just following like in what they believe. It's like I guess I kind of just came to terms with that. Like there's like a big majority of people who do like believe that like God's real and He created everything, and then like there's people that I know like that believe that like something else started it, but I like really never been around like or been exposed to that side. I've only been around people that believe that there's a God, there's a Almighty being.
Okay. What would it take to convince you otherwise concerning your belief? What would it take to convince you that you were wrong concerning your belief and that wasn't God after all?
Say like if someone was to I guess like have facts stated, I guess like scientifically proven or something like that.
Okay. But do you have that for your currently held belief? Do you have scientific proof for your currently held belief that God did it?
Not really.
Okay. So on the one hand,
well, I guess just be kind of just like Jesus was real, it's like it's stated in history he was real and everything. Okay. I'll say that'll probably be about it.
Okay. Well, that's getting more into a specific religion. I try to focus the interviews like on one issue. Okay. So let's stick to like the general God created everything question. So my question was, what was it?
Oh, do I believe? Like, how do I believe that there's a creator and that something else did it?
Yeah. How do you distinguish between the two? How do you distinguish between a universe that God created and a universe that some sort of natural mechanism created?
I never really thought about it like that. Like I guess the huge difference between the two. Yes. Yeah, I never really thought about it like deeply like that. Just God created it, and otherwise, the scientists say like the Big Bang Theory or something like that.
You said you would require scientific proof to convince you otherwise, and I asked you, do you have that for your currently held belief? Do you have scientific proof?
I mean, it can't really be like scientifically proven that God is real. Like we can't like see Him, and we can't really do that.
But would you accept that from the other side? What if somebody said, I know that natural mechanisms created the universe, but you can't really see it. You can't really have evidence or proof. Like, would you accept that from the other side? Would that convince you?
Side? I mean, yeah, it can. Yeah, it can. I guess, if they have strong enough evidence and stuff, I'll be like willing to believe it.
I'm just wondering how, like me as the objective observer, how would I distinguish between the two so that if you're saying God did it, even though I can't provide evidence, like you just said, and then you have another person saying the opposite conclusion, but they also say, but I can't provide evidence, how do I
Mainly-
distinguish between
Mainly
the
it's
two?
like become between like your faith and like if you believe in it strong enough.
Hmm.
It's like I guess so like how much does it like mean to you? Does it have more meaning like in your life? And that also has like do with I guess your parents or people that are around you when you grew up.
Hmm.
Because when it comes like your religion or whether you believe in God or not, it's mainly for the most part like who you grew up with,
Hmm.
people around you, and you know when you grow up over time, then your like mind may change because
Okay.
of people that you meet.
So, do any of those things that you just mentioned have the ability to lead to truth? In other words, does you mentioned two things. You mentioned what it means to you, and then you mentioned like upbringing, what you were taught. Do either of those things change reality? You know, I mean, is there anything about me finding meaning in something that means it must necessarily be true?
Well, I guess in a sense, it could just be true to you. Like it
Hmm.
may not be true to other people, but you know, it just depends on like again, like what you believe, your faith, like whether you want to believe this or that. You know,
Okay.
like it all comes down to yourself. Well, it's somewhat like later on in life,
Hmm.
I'll say. But yeah,
But what if we're trying to determine what's actually true? Like, what if we're trying to determine that what I believe in my mind has some sort of correlation with objective reality? How do I verify that?
mm, I don't know. I guess like it like takes on like how you live your life, like what you
Hmm.
do every day. I guess like you know if you try to like do things that you believe are good for your religion, then you would do that.
Hmm.
Or if you don't like believe in that, then you just like do things I guess by law. Like
Hmm.
and you believe like I shouldn't do this because it's against the law
Hmm.
and stuff like that, and just morals. I'd
Hmm.
say.
You said it earlier. You mentioned that something could be true for you. I think that's the way you put it.
Yeah,
What did you mean by that?
true for you. So like I guess if you believe like that a God is real, and then like you have a set religion, then you can believe yeah like this is what I believe in. Like other people may not believe that, but I'm gonna stay true to this, and I'm gonna like abide by the rules of my religion, or just abide by my religion. Or if you don't believe in that, then you can just say, well, I'm gonna like abide by morals of
Hmm.
like some of the world.
Right.
Like don't do this and don't do that. Like
Uh-huh.
this is good, seen by a lot of people. This is bad, seen by a lot of people. So do that.
So how do you determine though which one is true? If they're both equally certain that theirs is true, is there any way to for me as the objective observer to distinguish between the two if they're both saying essentially the same thing?
No, I think that really not. Well, I mean, at least of what I know, I wouldn't say there's really not. Just besides the fact is like again, like what you personally believe that it is. Like it will be hard to like I guess to tell the difference
Hmm.
between most part.
So what makes you prefer your belief over another belief if there's no way to tell the difference? Why are you convinced that God created the world rather than some natural mechanism if there's no way to tell the difference?
Just my parents, like my mom and my dad, they believe in God. So you know, like they raised me to believe in God
Hmm.
and everything. So I just like followed in that line. That's like what I knew when I was little. That's what I was growing up into. That's what I believe now.
Is it possible for somebody to be raised in a certain religion and yet that religion not be true?
Yeah, yes. Like they could something further on and like later on in line in their life can make them change their decision off an event that happens or a person that they meet.
Hmm.
They change.
So how do you know it's not the case for you? How do you know that you're not one of those people who was raised a certain way, but you're mistaken concerning your belief?
It's just I guess that hasn't happened. Like nothing really has happened in my life to make me say, well, like I guess something major happened. Then like what if there's not a God or what if something else is real? Like nothing like really major has happened to make me like change my
Hmm.
decision what I believe in.
Okay. So that's what would convince you that you were wrong. But what I'm wondering, I'm more interested in like what convinces you that you're right, not just what would convince you that you were wrong. What convinces you currently that you're correct concerning your belief?
Mm. It just have to be like the main part to be like the large amount of people that believe in the same thing that I do.
Hmm.
That mainly that's the main part. Like there's nothing really I could say because then like when it comes to that, it's like I don't really like go to church and stuff that often. So I don't really I guess practice my religion as strong as like other people would
Hmm.
or like someone else would. So it's like you know I believe what I believe in and I don't know like too much about like my religion. guess I would say. So
you mentioned a large amount of people believe it. Does that make it true?
No, like, no, it doesn't make it true just because a lot of people believe in it. It's just like falling in line. Just, yeah, so I never like really like dig down and did research or anything to try to find if it's real or not. Like I said, it's just like that's what I was sprung up into, and I never really like second guessed it. Like,
Okay. Okay. I appreciate it, Darren. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for the conversation.
yeah.